18 hours after the ultimatum, the Crithian fleet began its attack on New Haven. General Vokhtar watched from his command throne as transport ships moved toward the colony like falling stars. His warriors were excited and ready to fight. They had conquered many worlds before. This would be easy. "General, we have a problem," one of his officers said nervously. Vokhtar looked at the display screen. The human warship Liberty had not run away like he expected. Instead, it had moved into a high orbit over New Haven. It was now blocking the path where the Crithian troops wanted to land. "One ship," Vokhtar said. "They think they can stop us with one ship. How foolish. All weapons target that ship and destroy it." Hundreds of plasma cannons turned to face the Liberty. Energy built up in the weapons, ready to release destruction that could destroy a small moon. The Crithians fired their weapons. Then the Liberty disappeared. It did not explode. It did not fly away. It just vanished from all sensors. "Report," Vokhtar shouted. "Unknown, General. The ship vanished from all our systems. No energy signal, no debris, nothing." Vokhtar's mouth parts ground together in anger. "Find it. Search the entire system if you must. They cannot hide forever." On the surface of New Haven, the colonists had their own plans. Governor Helen Cruz stood in the command bunker deep underground. She watched tactical displays with the calm face of someone who had been a soldier before becoming a politician. Around her, civilian volunteers checked weapons and reviewed where they would fight. "Governor, the Crithian first wave is entering our atmosphere," said Lieutenant Kyle Mason. He was one of the few real military people on the colony. "They will land in 12 minutes. "Good," Helen said. "Is everyone in position?" Kyle nodded. "The hunting groups are ready. Every farmer with a rifle. Every miner who knows how to use explosives. Every teenager who can shoot. We have about 8,000 people who can fight. Against 1 million, someone said quietly. Helen turned to face her people. "Listen to me. The Crithians think in terms of big battles. Army against army in open fields. They have conquered dozens of species who fought that way." She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We are not going to fight that way." The screen showed New Haven's land. There were thick forests, winding canyons, and underground mining tunnels that stretched for hundreds of miles. It was perfect land for people who knew it well. "We are going to make them pay for every step forward," Helen continued. "We attack, then disappear, then attack again. We hit them where they are weak. We vanish before they can respond. We make them scared to leave their landing zones." "That is guerrilla warfare," Kyle said. "That is human warfare," Helen corrected him. "We have been doing it for thousands of years. Time to teach these aliens why Earth's history is covered in blood." The first Crithian transport ships landed in a wide valley. Their sensors said it was a good place with flat ground and clear sightlines. Within minutes, thousands of warriors came out of the ships. They formed perfect military lines. They never saw the mines. The valley floor exploded in a chain of blasts that threw warriors and equipment high into the air. Confusion spread through the ranks as commanders tried to understand what happened. Their sensors had not detected any explosives or traps. That was because the colonists had used mining explosives wrapped in organic material. The Crithian scanners could not see them because they were looking for advanced military technology. As the smoke cleared, gunfire erupted from the hills around the valley. Human snipers, hidden in carefully camouflaged positions, began shooting officers and communication specialists. Each shot was careful and planned to cause maximum confusion. The Crithians fired back, but their energy weapons hit empty positions. The humans were already moving to new spots for the next attack. In orbit, General Vokhtar received the reports with growing anger. One valley lost. 700 warriors dead or wounded, his aide reported. The humans are using simple weapons and old tactics. Our troops want permission to chase them. No, Vokhtar said sharply. They want us to spread out and chase shadows. Stay in formation, secure the landing zones, and advance slowly. But slow gave the humans time. Over the next 6 hours, the same thing happened at a dozen landing zones. The Crithians would secure an area and begin to move forward. Suddenly, they would be attacked from unexpected directions. Traps killed soldiers. Sniper fire broke up formations. And always, the humans vanished before reinforcements could arrive. "We have lost 3,000 warriors," the aide reported. Fear crept into his voice. "We have moved forward less than 5 kilometers anywhere. The humans are everywhere and nowhere." Vokhtar stared at the tactical display. He watched his perfect invasion turn into chaos. How could primitives with worse weapons be so effective? He did not understand that he was fighting something more dangerous than any advanced weapon. He was fighting humans who were defending their home. He was fighting people who had learned lessons from 10,000 years of war against their own kind. Above the planet, still invisible to sensors, Captain Jake Morrison watched the chaos with satisfaction. "They are learning," he said to Paul. "Not fast enough to save themselves, but they are learning." "The Crithian fleet is still searching for us," Paul reported. "They are getting frustrated." "Good. Keep them looking up while the colonists hit them on the ground." "Is it time for the next phase?" Paul checked his console. "All other human ships will arrive in 3 hours. Once they get here, we can execute the plan." Jake nodded. "Then we wait. Let the colonists hurt them. Every warrior who dies down there is one less we have to fight up here." On the surface, Helen Cruz reloaded her rifle and smiled. The Crithians had brought 1 million troops to conquer New Haven. They were learning that against humans, numbers alone would never be enough. In the forests and canyons of New Haven, human colonists continued their attacks. They used knowledge of the land to their advantage. They set traps in places the Crithians would walk. They fired from positions the aliens could not see. They made every step forward cost the invaders dearly. A group of miners used their explosives knowledge to collapse tunnels on Crithian patrols. Farmers who knew every trail led enemy units into ambushes. Even children helped by running messages between fighting groups, using paths too small for the large Crithian warriors to follow. The aliens had superior technology and more soldiers. But the humans had something more valuable. They had the will to fight for their home. They had creativity born from desperation, and they had thousands of years of experience in making war. As night fell on New Haven, the Crithian commanders gathered to discuss their situation. They had expected to control the entire colony in one day. Instead, they held only their landing zones. They had lost thousands of warriors, and they still could not find and destroy the human resistance. General Vakhtar received these reports aboard his flagship. He began to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not like other species he had conquered. They did not break when threatened. They did not surrender when outnumbered. They fought back with everything they had, and they were very good at it. The bridge of the warship Liberty was quiet except for the soft sounds of computers working. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair and looked at the screens in front of him. Outside the large window, he could see hundreds of alien ships. They filled the space around the human colony world of New Haven like a dark cloud. 3 months ago, humans had met aliens for the first time. Everyone had been excited and happy. They thought they would make friends with other species in the galaxy. But the aliens called Crithians had other plans. They did not want friends. They wanted servants. Lisa Bennett worked at the communication station. She looked up at the captain with worry in her eyes. "Captain, the alien commander is sending us another message." Jake nodded and straightened in his chair. He had been expecting this. The Crithians had arrived 2 days ago with a simple demand. They wanted all humans to surrender and become part of their empire. If humans said no, the aliens would attack and kill everyone. The main screen turned on and showed an alien face. General Vakhtar looked like a giant insect with hard shell skin and 4 eyes. He stared at Jake like a hunter looking at prey. His voice came through the translator with strange clicking sounds. "Human captain," Vakhtar said, "your leaders have said no to our offer. This makes me unhappy. I have been sent to take this planet for the Crithian Empire. You should understand what this means." Jake leaned forward in his chair. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight. "General, we came to space in peace. We wanted to trade with other species and learn from them. We wanted to be friends. We do not want to bow to anyone." Vakhtar made a noise that might have been laughter. "You talk about peace, but you have only one ship against my fleet. I have conquered 47 different species. I have taken over 200 worlds. Your people are like children playing with toys. Look at my ships, human. Look and be afraid." The screen changed to show numbers and facts about the Crithian fleet. The computer changed the alien writing into human language. Jake felt cold when he saw the numbers. 1 million soldiers ready to land on the planet. Hundreds of warships. Enough weapons to destroy the whole colony. "I have 1 million troops ready to land on your world," Vakhtar continued. His mouth part spread in what looked like a smile. Your colony has only 50,000 people. This fight is already over. You lost before it even started. Jake was quiet for a moment. His fingers tapped on the arm of his chair. Paul Harris, his weapons officer, looked at him with fear in his eyes. Everyone on the bridge knew the truth. The number said humans would lose. They were supposed to be here to help people escape, not to fight. But now they were facing complete destruction. Then Jake smiled. It was not a nice smile. General, thank you for telling me about your troops. I really appreciate it. But you have made one big mistake in your thinking. Vakhtar's eyes became narrow. What mistake is that, human? You think 1 million troops is a huge force that will scare us? Jake's smile grew wider. I think 1 million troops means I have 1 million targets. You just told me exactly how many enemies I need to kill. The alien general's calm face changed for just a second. You dare to mock me? 1 ship against my whole fleet? 1 ship is all I need, Jake said in a calm voice. You want to know what humans can do? Let me teach you. Communications. Send the general our history files. Lisa's fingers moved quickly across her controls. Information began flowing to the Crithian flagship. It was data about every war humans had ever fought. Wars from ancient times to recent battles in space. Hundreds of years of humans killing each other with better and better weapons. We are not strangers to war, General. We have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We got very good at it. You are just the first alien species stupid enough to give us a common enemy. Jake stood up from his chair. His whole body showed confidence. So here is my offer to you. Turn your fleet around. Leave this star system. Go home. If you do that, we will forget this ever happened. Vakhtar's anger was clear even across the communication link. You will burn for your words. I will personally feed your colonists to my warriors. Your ship will be the first to die. Then come and try to take it. Jake said softly. You have 1 million targets. I have 1 million reasons to show you why humans never surrender. The transmission ended suddenly. The bridge became silent. Captain, Paul said quietly. What is the plan? Jake turned to look at his weapons officer. For the first time in days, he felt a little bit better. Not because the situation had improved. It had not. But because the time for talking was done. Now it was time for action. Paul, turn on the emergency beacon. Let us see if the general is ready for a war he cannot win just by having more soldiers. Yes, sir, Paul replied. A small smile appeared on his face. Deep in space, a signal began to pulse outward. It carried a simple message to every human ship within range. The message said, "We are at war. All ships come to New Haven immediately." The Crithians had brought 1 million troops to scare a colony. They wanted humans to be afraid and give up without fighting. But they were about to learn something important about humans. When someone threatens them, humans do not surrender. They fight back. Every single human becomes a soldier when they need to be. General Vakhtar sat in his command chair on the flagship. He felt angry but also confused. The human captain had not begged for mercy. He had not tried to negotiate for more time. Instead, he had smiled and made jokes. What kind of species does that when facing certain death? Vakhtar did not understand yet, but he would learn soon. Humans had been fighting wars for their entire history. They knew how to fight when outnumbered. They knew how to win when everyone said they would lose. They knew how to turn 1 million enemy soldiers into 1 million problems for the other side. The war was about to begin, and the Crithians would soon wish they had never heard of humans. By the second day of the invasion, General Vakhtar's confidence had turned into worry. His army of 1 million soldiers had captured only 30 square kilometers of New Haven's surface. Casualties were rising faster than his medical teams could handle. Another supply convoy destroyed. His logistics officer reported. The humans used bombs hidden in the road. We lost 6 transport vehicles and all their guards. Vakhtar's claws scraped against his command throne. How do they know our supply routes? We change them every time, unknown, General. It is as if they can predict where we will go. What the Crithians did not know was simple. The colonists of New Haven had spent 3 years building their settlement. They knew every animal trail, every hidden valley, every good vantage point, and they had spent the last 2 weeks preparing for exactly this fight. In the forest near Landing Zone 7, Danny Pierce moved through the bushes without making a sound. At 23 years old, he had been a wildlife tracker before the invasion. Now he was a scout, watching the Crithian camp through special binoculars. "Alpha Leader, this is Scout 3, he whispered into his radio. "I count about 500 warriors in the camp. They are getting ready to move east toward the mining settlement." Helen Cruz's voice came back through the radio. "Copy that, Scout 3. Fall back to the rally point and get ready for the intercept." Danny disappeared into the forest, moving away from the Crithian position. Behind him, 2 alien warriors never noticed the small tracking devices he had stuck to their supply boxes. Simple technology, nothing fancy, but enough to let the humans know exactly where the Crithians were going. 2 hours later, the Crithian column moved along a narrow forest road. They felt confident because of their numbers. They had learned to watch for bombs buried in the ground. Their sensors swept constantly for hidden explosives. They did not think to look up. The trees on both sides of the road had been cut almost all the way through days before. The colonists had left them standing but weak. When the explosives went off, dozens of huge tree trunks fell across the column. They crushed vehicles and warriors. The neat formation became chaos. Then the humans opened fire. Colonist fighters positioned high up and camouflaged so well that thermal sensors could not find them, unleashed devastating crossfire. Railgun bullets designed for mining equipment punched through Crithian armor easily. Chemical explosives made from farming supplies turned the road into a killing zone. Lieutenant Kyle Mason commanded the ambush from a rocky hill. He watched the carnage with cold efficiency. "Cease fire. All units fall back to secondary positions. Move now." The shooting stopped as suddenly as it had begun. By the time Crithian reinforcements arrived, the road was empty except for the dead and wounded. The humans had vanished like ghosts. In orbit, Jake Morrison received the battle reports with grim satisfaction. "They are doing better than I expected. The colonists have killed over 12,000 Crithians," Paul reported. "But they are running low on ammunition. How long until the fleet arrives?" "1 more hour," Jake said. "Then we show these aliens what a real human fleet looks like." Lisa Bennett looked up from her communication station. "Captain, we are getting reports from other colonies. The Crithians have sent invasion forces to 6 different human settlements across the sector." Jake's jaw tightened. "How many troops total?" "Estimated 5 million across all locations." The bridge went silent. Even with reinforcements coming, humanity was vastly outnumbered. 5 million targets, Jake said quietly. "They really do not understand what they have started." Paul looked at his captain. "Sir?" "Every species the Crithians conquered before probably saw those numbers and gave up. They thought the war was over before it started." Jake's eyes were hard. "But we are not them. We have fought wars against ourselves where we had armies that big, and we learned something important. Wars are not won by the side with the most soldiers. They are won by the side willing to do whatever it takes to win." On the surface, Helen Cruz gathered her command staff in the underground bunker. They were exhausted, running on medicine and adrenaline, but they were winning. "The Crithians are pulling their forces together," Kyle reported. "They are giving up on fast expansion and moving to defendable positions." "They are learning," Helen said. "Vokhtar is changing his tactics. That makes him dangerous." "What do we do next?" asked Janet Foster. She was the colony's chief engineer and now the head of making explosive traps. Helen studied the tactical map. "We have shown them we can hurt them in the open. Now we show them that nowhere is safe." "Janet, how many drones do we have working?" 32 survey drones armed with bombs. Send them into the Crithian camps tonight. I want them thinking we can strike anywhere, anytime." Helen looked at her people. "We need to break their will to fight. Make them afraid. Make them question why they are dying on a world that will never surrender." That night, as Crithian warriors tried to rest in their fortified positions, small drones slipped past their sensors. The explosions were not big enough to kill many soldiers, but they did something more valuable. They destroyed the invaders' sense of security. By morning, General Vokhtar was facing something he had never seen in 40 years of conquest. An enemy that refused to be scared by bigger numbers. An enemy that changed tactics faster than his forces could respond. An enemy that seemed to do better in bad conditions. "General," his aide said carefully, Some of the warriors are saying this world is cursed, that the humans are demons. Vokatar wanted to dismiss such silly talk, but he understood why his troops felt that way. They were dying in ambushes they never saw coming. They were being hunted by an enemy that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. It was like fighting ghosts. "Prepare the orbital bombardment platforms," Vokatar ordered. "If we cannot take this world cleanly, we will burn it and start over." "Sir, are you certain?" "The Empire wanted this colony intact. The Empire will accept a dead world over a failed invasion," Vokatar said sharply. "We either end this now or we will lose warriors one at a time forever." High above, hidden by the Liberty's stealth systems, Jake Morrison received information about the orbital platforms and smiled coldly. "They are escalating," he said. "Perfect. Paul, how long until our friends arrive?" 30 minutes, Captain." "Then it is time to show General Vokatar something important. He is not hunting humans." Jake's smile was like a predator's. "We are hunting him." The war was about to enter a new phase. The Crithians were about to learn that when humans stop defending and start attacking, 1 million troops is not nearly enough. In the forest, Danny Pierce prepared for another scouting mission. In the bunker, Helen Cruz planned the next series of attacks. Aboard the Liberty, Jake Morrison prepared to reveal his ship and strike at the Crithian fleet. All across New Haven, humans prepared to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The Crithians had come expecting an easy conquest. They had brought overwhelming force, but force alone could not defeat people fighting for their homes. Technology could not overcome human creativity and determination. Numbers meant nothing when the smaller force knew how to use the terrain, how to strike and fade, how to make every battle cost the enemy dearly. General Vokatar had brought 1 million soldiers to take New Haven. He thought that would be more than enough. He was about to discover just how wrong he had been. The human reinforcement fleet came out of faster-than-light travel with perfect timing. General Vokatar would have been surprised by what he saw. These were not huge battleships or sleek warships. They were cargo ships, mining vessels, corporate security ships, and converted civilian transports. 63 vessels in total. None of them were proper military warships. Admiral Kate Sullivan commanded the fleet from the bridge of a converted bulk freighter called Defiance. At 59 years old, she had spent 30 years as a merchant ship captain, before being called back to military duty for this crisis. Her fleet was a mix of volunteers, corporate vessels forced into service, and every ship humanity could gather on short notice. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. Battle network is now active. Sync your targeting computers and maintain formation Delta 7. She looked at her tactical officer. "Commander, what is the analysis of the Crithian fleet?" 378 warships, ma'am. Each one has more firepower than our largest vessel by 10 times. Combined firepower analysis suggests they could destroy our entire fleet in about 18 minutes. Kate smiled thinly. "Then we better make those 18 minutes count. Communications, contact Captain Morrison on the Liberty." Jake's face appeared on the screen. Kate saw the tiredness in his eyes. "Admiral Sullivan. Good to see you, Captain. Time to earn your pay. What is the tactical situation?" "The Crithians are preparing orbital bombardment platforms. If they use those, the colony is finished. We need to take out their fleet, and we need to do it now." Kate nodded. "Then let us give them a lesson in human warfare. Starting Plan Thunder." Across the human fleet, civilian vessels suddenly powered up weapon systems that had been carefully hidden in cargo holds and engineering spaces. Mining lasers designed to cut asteroids, industrial plasma torches, mass drivers for moving ore. Even a few improvised nuclear devices made from reactor parts. None of it was elegant, but all of it was deadly. General Vokatar watched the human fleet approach with contempt. They send cargo ships against warships? Their desperation is pathetic. All vessels target the largest ships first. Destroy them. The Crithian fleet opened fire. Space lit up with plasma bolts and energy beams. 3 human ships died in the first attack. Torn apart by firepower, they had no hope of surviving. But the human fleet was not trying to fight ship against ship. They were using a different strategy entirely. "All vessels execute scatter pattern Omega," Kate commanded. "Make them work for every kill." The human fleet broke apart into dozens of individual vessels, each one moving on seemingly random paths. The Crithians tried to track them, but coordinating fire against so many small, fast-moving targets was difficult. And that was when the Liberty dropped its stealth systems and opened fire on the Crithian flagship. Jake had been waiting for this moment. His ship was outgunned, outarmored, and probably outclassed in every normal measure. But the Liberty had something the Crithians did not. 3 months of careful watching while pretending to be a simple patrol vessel. Target their command tower, full spread, Jake ordered. All weapons, fire. The Liberty's main railgun shot a stream of tungsten bullets at incredible speeds, followed by a spread of nuclear-tipped missiles. The Crithian flagship's shields held, but the sheer force of the impact caused the massive vessel to shake. Their shields are adapting, Paul reported. They are changing frequencies to counter our weapons. Then we will give them something they cannot adapt to, Jake said. Helm set course to ram them. Engineering, charge the faster-than-light drive. The bridge crew turned to look at him. Captain, Paul said carefully. Trust me, Jake replied. We are not actually going to ram them. We are just going to make them think we will. The Liberty accelerated directly toward the Crithian flagship, moving faster with each second. Alarms sounded on Vokhtar's bridge as they realized the human ship's plan. They are attempting a suicide run, the tactical officer shouted. All weapons, focus fire on that vessel. Dozens of Crithian ships turned their attention to the Liberty, pouring fire into her shields. The ship shook under the assault. Armor plates vaporized, but she kept coming. Faster than light drive at 80%, the engineer reported. Captain, we are taking critical damage. Shields down to 20%. Hold course, Jake said calmly, watching the distance to the flagship close. 3,000 kilometers. 2,000. 1,000 now, Jake shouted. The Liberty's faster-than-light drive engaged at point-blank range. The ship vanished in a flash of twisted space-time. But the energy released from activating such a drive so close to another vessel was catastrophic. The Crithian flagship's shields collapsed under the gravitational stress. The ship was sent tumbling out of formation. Systems flickered and failed. The Liberty reappeared 50,000 kilometers away. Damaged but intact, that, Paul said breathlessly, is the dumbest thing you have ever done. Worked though, Jake replied. Now while they are confused, execute Phase 2. Across the battle space, the scattered human ships had been doing more than just running. They had been deploying thousands of small autonomous drones. Each one was no larger than a basketball. Mining drones, survey drones, even a few children's toys that had been turned into weapons with improvised explosives. Kate Sullivan watched the tactical display with satisfaction. All ships activate the swarm. Thousands of tiny objects suddenly appeared on Crithian sensors. Each one moved toward their fleet. The aliens tried to shoot them down, but there were too many, moving too unpredictably. Energy weapons designed to destroy capital ships were too slow and imprecise to track such small, fast-moving targets. The drones reached the Crithian fleet and began attaching themselves to hulls, engine parts, and sensor arrays. Then they exploded. Individually, each explosion was minor. A few kilograms of explosives could not seriously damage a warship. But thousands of them exploding at the same time across hundreds of ships created chaos. Sensors went dark. Communication arrays failed. Point defense systems were destroyed. All human vessels, weapons free, Kate commanded. Hit them while they are blind. The human fleet, still scattered across the battlespace, opened fire. Mining lasers that could cut through solid rock burned into exposed hulls. Mass drivers designed to move tons of ore sent projectiles screaming into disabled ships. And the Liberty, recovering from her desperate move, began systematically targeting Crithian command vessels with her remaining weapons. On the surface of New Haven, the colonists watched the battle unfold on their displays and cheered. They had been fighting alone for days. Now they could see the fury of humanity unleashed in space. General Vokhtar, aboard his crippled flagship, watched his perfect armada fall into disarray. These were not professional warriors. These were merchants and miners and volunteers. And they were destroying his fleet with improvised weapons and insane tactics. All ships retreat to high orbit, he commanded. Regroup and reassess. But retreating meant turning their backs to the enemy. Kate Sullivan was not about to let them escape. Pursuit course, she ordered. Do not let a single ship get away intact. We end this now. The battle continued for hours. Human ships chased down damaged Crithian vessels. More drones were deployed. More improvised weapons found their targets. The Crithians tried to form defensive formations. But the humans were everywhere, striking from unexpected angles, using tactics no military academy had ever taught, because humans had not learned warfare in academies. They had learned it in thousands of years of fighting each other. Every dirty trick, every desperate gambit, every unconventional tactic had been tried before in human history. Now they were using all of it against the Crithians. As the battle entered its 6th hour, the Crithian fleet was broken. Less than 200 ships remained combat effective, and those were scattered and demoralized. The humans had lost 30 vessels, but they fought with a ferocity that made numbers irrelevant. For the first time in his long military career, General Vakhtar understood what it meant to lose. Not just a battle, but to be completely outmatched by an enemy he had thought inferior. The humans had taken his advantage in numbers and technology, and made it meaningless through sheer creativity and determination. The war was turning, and the Crithians were learning a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. The battle in orbit had lasted 6 hours, and the outcome was clear. General Vakhtar stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, watching his invasion fleet break apart under relentless human attacks. Of his original 378 warships, less than 200 remained able to fight. Those that survived were scattered and their crews were demoralized. The human fleet had lost 30 vessels, but they fought with a fierceness that seemed impossible. Every time the Crithians tried to regroup, another wave of improvised weapons found them. Mining charges attached to drones, metal projectiles accelerated by industrial equipment, even a few ships that simply crashed into disabled Crithian vessels at full speed, their crews escaping moments before impact. "General, we have a transmission from the human commander," his communications officer reported. Vakhtar thought about refusing, but pride and tradition demanded he hear his enemy's words. "Accept it." Admiral Kate Sullivan appeared on the screen. Her face showed exhaustion, but her eyes were sharp. Behind her, Jake Morrison stood at attention. His uniform was burned and torn from emergency repairs. "General Vakhtar," Kate said, "I believe we have made our position clear. Withdraw your forces from all human colonies immediately, or we will continue destroying your fleet." Vakhtar's mouth parts clicked in anger. "You have lost 1/3 of your ships. We still outnumber you." "Numbers did not help you against our colonists," Jake said, "and they are not helping you up here. You brought 1 million troops to scare us. All you did was give us a target list." "This war is not over," Vakhtar snarled. "The Empire has fleets 10 times this size. When they arrive, your entire species will be destroyed." Kate's expression did not change. "Then you better send them. Because we will be ready, and we will teach them the same lesson we have taught you. Humans do not surrender. We adapt, we improvise, and we never ever stop fighting." She leaned forward. "You came to our worlds thinking you would conquer weaker species. You expected us to break like they did, but we are not them. We are the species that split the atom to end a war. We are the ones who fought wars that killed millions of our own people and kept going. We do not know how to quit." On the surface of New Haven, the Crithian ground forces were in full retreat. Helen Cruz stood outside the command bunker, watching through binoculars as the last transport ships lifted off, loaded with wounded warriors. Around her, exhausted colonists came out from hiding spots and bunkers. Their faces were dirty and covered in smoke, but their eyes showed victory. "Final count?" she asked Kyle Mason. "We lost about 1,500 people," he said quietly. "Military and civilian. But we took out over 40,000 Crithians. The rest are leaving." Helen closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of those losses. 1,500 names she would have to read. 1,500 families she would have to face. But they had won. Against impossible odds, they had defended their home. "Ma'am," Kyle continued, "we are getting reports from the other colonies. Similar stories everywhere. Massive Crithian casualties. Minimal territory captured. They are pulling back from all locations." "Because they finally understand," Helen said. "You cannot conquer humans by threatening us. You just make us dangerous." In orbit, the Crithian fleet was preparing for its final jump to faster-than-light speed, ready to leave the system. But Jake Morrison had one more message to deliver. "General Vakhtar," he said, his voice carrying across the communication channel, "before you go, I want you to understand something. You came here with 1 million troops because you thought that would be overwhelming. But to us, 1 million is just a number. We have fought wars where tens of millions died, and we kept fighting. We have killed each other in numbers that would make your empire collapse." He paused, letting that sink in. "You wanted to conquer us because you saw us as primitives. But we are not primitive. We are experienced. Every weapon we used against you, we invented to use against ourselves first. Every tactic, every strategy, we learned it fighting each other. You thought you were invading a weak species. You were actually picking a fight with the most warlike species in this galaxy. Vokhtar said nothing, but his eyes showed his thoughts. Fear. Real. Genuine fear. Go back to your empire, Jake continued. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humanity will defend every world, every settlement, every ship. Tell them that we do not measure victory in territory gained. We measure it in enemies defeated, no matter how long it takes, no matter what it costs. Kate Sullivan continued the message. And tell them that if they come for us again, we will not just defend. We will take the fight to them. Because that is what humans do when we are threatened. We do not just survive. We win. The transmission ended. The Crithian fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, retreating from the system in disorder. On the Liberty's bridge, Paul Harris let out a long breath. Captain, we did it. We actually did it. Jake nodded slowly, looking at the debris field that had once been warships. We won the battle. But the war is just starting, sir. They will be back, Jake said. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not next year. But they will come. And they will bring more than 1 million troops next time. Lisa Bennett looked up from her station. Then what do we do? Jake's expression became hard. We do what humans always do. We prepare, we build, we arm ourselves, and we make sure that the next time someone threatens us, they bring enough troops to matter. Because 1 million? That is just target practice. 3 months later, the Crithian Empire held an emergency council. General Vokhtar, stripped of his rank but allowed to live as a warning to others, presented his report on the human conflict. The assembled admirals and warlords listened in growing disbelief. 1 million troops lost across 6 colonies, High Admiral Zextar said. 42 warships destroyed. The most costly failed invasion in Empire history. And you are telling me they did this with improvised weapons and civilian volunteers? They are not like any species we have met, Vokhtar said. His voice sounded hollow. They do not fight for territory or resources. They fight because they refuse to be defeated. Every human, civilian, or soldier becomes a warrior when threatened. Surely they have weaknesses, another admiral argued. All species do. Their weaknesses themselves, Vokhtar replied. They fight each other constantly. Their history is nothing but war after war. Humans killing humans over the smallest differences, but when threatened by an outside force, they unite with terrifying speed. We gave them a common enemy. We made them dangerous. High Admiral Zextar was quiet for a long moment. Your recommendation? Avoid human space. Establish a quarantine zone. Let them fight among themselves. Because if we give them reason to unite again, they will tear down this empire piece by piece. They will never stop until we are destroyed, or they are. The council agreed. The humans were marked as Category 1 threat. Do not engage. On Earth, humanity was having a very different conversation. The War Council, hastily put together from military leaders and civilian governments, reviewed the reports from New Haven and the other colony conflicts. We got lucky, one general said. If the Crithians had been willing to accept higher casualties, if they had been willing to destroy our colonies from orbit, we could not have stopped them. Then we need to make sure we can, replied another voice. Admiral Kate Sullivan, now promoted to Joint Chief of Space Operations, stood before the council. We need to build a real fleet, real warships, not converted freighters. We need training programs, standardized tactics, and most importantly, we need to make sure humanity is never caught off guard again. That will take years, someone objected. Decades, even. Then we better start now, Kate replied. Because the Crithians are not the only species out there. We have announced ourselves to the galaxy, and we did it by bloodying the nose of an empire that has conquered dozens of worlds. Every species out there now knows about humans. Some will want to be allies. Others will see us as threats. We need to be ready for both. Jake Morrison, invited to the council as the officer who commanded the first battle, stood up. If I may, Admiral Sullivan is right. But there is something else we need to remember. We won at New Haven because we did not fight the way they expected. We adapted. We improvised. We made them think they were fighting a defensive war when we were actually hunting them. He looked around the room. That is humanity's strength. We do not follow the rules of warfare. We rewrite them. Every species that has tried to conquer us throughout history has learned that lesson. Now the galaxy knows it too. So what do? Asked the Secretary General. Jake smiled. We keep being human. We explore, we trade, We make friends where we can. But we make sure everyone knows this. Threaten us and you are not fighting an army. You are fighting every single human who refuses to surrender. 1 million troops? That is just 1 million targets. Bring 10 million, and we will find 10 million reasons to win. The Council voted to authorize the creation of Earth's first true military fleet. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun. The species that had spent thousands of years fighting itself now had a new purpose. Showing the universe that humans did not conquer worlds by overwhelming force. They did it by refusing to lose.